Hey everybody, this is a Crypto Facts, and this is the main channel, the Crypto Facts. So earlier we had a wow, excuse me. Earlier we had a crypto quickie, and I was talking about XTZ and where I saw it going. And let's look at this just to go back over that. Don't know if I have it still here. So I was saying that XTZ in Bitcoin looks like it's a pretty good W right here. That, or we'd be looking at this, like a bull flag, if anything, where we would go like this. And then, of course, then continuing that, we would go to the upside. So let's take all of that off. Okay. And that's mainly because we see a W here, right? And so these patterns do repeat themselves. The more that they repeat, the less likely they're going to take place. See, it was a tiny W, obviously a bigger one, this kind of a bowl shape or something like that. Then here's the W's coming back. The only thing that I did say is that, okay, let's take a look here. We can take a look at Bitcoin. Now, we noticed that this dropped. The actual price of XTC dropped with it, but the value in Bitcoin went up. So when you see it green here, because this is Tezos, XTZ BTC, what is measured in Bitcoin. So if you're holding Tezos with no leverage, or I don't know if there are sites that give you small amounts of leverage or something like that, but if they do, you can essentially hold this and make more Bitcoin, aka more bang for your buck if you only stay in Bitcoin, assuming that Bitcoin does go up to these all-time highs and goes up to the area that so many people are talking about. So you would get more Bitcoin just by holding XTZ alone if you're just holding. And this is what we have to do. This is what I was talking about on another video. See, the thing is that you want to switch off. So right here, let's just say you stay 100% in Bitcoin. This is what you're doing, okay? So this is going up in Bitcoin. And then once it starts to dump back down, there's probably a certain point that you would get out, whether it was here or here. You then switch into Bitcoin to hold it. Then Bitcoin's US dollar value goes up. Maybe then you switch off into US dollar, but let's just say Bitcoin in general to simplify it, because you could do a three-way thing here. It would have been US dollar, you hold that, and then it was dumping. As you notice that I took out a short instead, but right up here, obviously taking out a short at 10.3K. I've already gone over that 100X, and I closed on this day, sub 5K. And there are certain sites that don't auto deleverage you like Binance does. I got auto deleveraged the other day, and I'm like, wait a minute. Binance gave me like a 1,500% profit on ETC in February, and I wasn't auto deleveraged, but it also took 3 minutes instead of something that was taking 30 or 40 minutes, like this dump that happened last weekend or the weekend before that. But yeah, so instead of taking out a short, let's just say you guys don't do leverage at all. Let's talk about these different, or low leverage, like a 5X leverage, and you just don't short. Like that's just something you don't do. Okay, you would have held the dollar, looking at this like, okay, head and shoulders, I thought it was right here, but then it went back up right here, which then means it's a downtrend. It's like down, flag, down, and it was leaning over and croaking. And really, I thought this had the potential to pump up, but it was because of the coronavirus stuff that was going on, I think, right around here that brought that down. I already saw without any of that news, which I say news is irrelevant in most cases, you could look at this and determine what's going to happen. So let's say you're using dollars. So I'm going to just take dollars to Bitcoin to XTZ. And using that, we can do this with other cryptocurrencies, but let's just make it simple. Right here, it dumped. It had the ultimate dump. You were like, maybe you didn't think it was going to dump below this, and you thought you bought in. I mentioned in the Discord literally the day before, I said in 24 hours, it's going to dump at least 35%. And you see the close of this candle was 39%, but really within the same day, because we're not UTC over in the US. If this was just one candle here, this thing dropped 50%, over 50% in one whole, I think, what was it, 15 to 17 hour window. And so, yeah, I said it was going to blow through. With that being said, if I did my analysis and I wasn't shorting, I would wait till it gets to a certain point and then I'd buy. At I remember I didn't go long because I'm a short guy too, and I was holding my short, and so one of them I closed below 5K, 4,700 if I'm not mistaken. It was like 46 to 47 something. This thing was popping up so quickly. I pressed the market button, so it probably got me. I got to look back at my average price, and then again over 5,200, and then I closed out my shorts between there. I had three different leverages, of course, but if I wasn't a short guy, I would look for the opportunity. They bought the dip. I'd let it run a few $100, $500 up, wait for a while. I would have gotten it same price I had closed out here, 5,200. And because I'm not using leverage, it would have come back down here. And there you go. You're holding Bitcoin at the same time. But think of this. If you held XTZ in Bitcoin, right, it really didn't drop too much. It didn't drop the 50+%. Now your dollars would have been gone, but to me, it was actually more advantageous to then buy Bitcoin at this lower price. And when you notice that this chart really didn't drop too hard, then you would buy into it. But me, knowing me, I don't move into things until they start to recover a little. So I wouldn't have gotten in at this candle. It would have looked like this. What's the difference between this one and this one on the day of? This looked like this was going to go, but then somehow at some point it started to dump. What if this one dumped? What if this one? So maybe somewhere in here, I would have switched over to XTZ, either the second one or the third one, because I'm not getting a medal. You don't get a medal for being the first one in there. So I would have gotten somewhere in here right when I looked to this left and noticed that it started to break out. Like for sure, this same thing here is breaking above this. It held, it tried to dump, and it went up. And so now we're holding this. If it looked like it was going to dump significantly lower, which I might have thought it was, I'd probably have a stop loss, but it would have been right here below this candle if I would have gotten in here, or below this one if I gotten in there. And then boom, you're holding it. You're holding it. You determine a predetermined area, which this seems like a good spot to change into Bitcoin. And maybe I would have held it a little bit longer. There, it's a give and a take on the action, because I don't want to do the hindsight like, yeah, this is a easy thing, because when you're there and you're looking at this, like you're just literally looking at that on the day of, what do you do? Like, what do you do right here on that red candle? Well, maybe nothing, because it could do one of these. And so I would let it probably run 3 candles. If it's 3 red candles, and then the next one into the fourth one, as long as it didn't significantly dump, like it basically dumped back up to right here, then I'm out for sure. But it kept going. This and this, these would be my next spots to get out right here. And then ultimately here. So once it tipped over here and it did that, actually, I probably would have held. And then once it had this, this is to me is a sellout. Like it literally eclipsed the previous candle. Like this red bar was bigger than this green one. The volume had gone down for the green, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm out. So there you go. But then you would be having back to Bitcoin. So that's all you're doing. You're going back between Bitcoin, XTZ, and that. And if you do this as your hodl position, because you can buy and hold, but you're not a billionaire that needs to worry about getting in, or 100 millionaire or something like that. Most likely, if you're listening to the video, and if you are, hey, how you doing? Definitely, I could use a donation, because I'm trying to get to be a billionaire myself. So yeah, go ahead. Let's do some donations for this quality content that I'm giving. It's not financial advice, of course, for entertainment purposes only. But yeah, so with that being said, you just can switch between this and this. So right now, holding XTZ in Bitcoin value is going up. but the US dollar value is going down. So here we go. Earlier today, we were looking at the 1 hour. Let's turn this back on. We were right, where are we at? Right here to right here when I recorded this video. So if this is YouTube, actually CocoScope has that. You look up the Crypto Facts, all one word, the Crypto Facts. On here it's called the Crypto Facts 2 as my channel, just because I was spammed and they got my first channel taken down and the next one and the next one and the next one. I went back to Crypto Facts. We went to Crypto Scalpers and stuff like that. And I'm messaging with YouTube right now to get that other channel back up. It's just ridiculous how easily some spammers can do it, and these scammers out here that are actually literally scamming, and somehow their videos are still up, but actual people that aren't, that's crazy. So with that being said, if this ever is taken down, CocoScope, the Crypto Facts, but that has the video there where it talks about my position and what I wanted to do. And if this gets over, because it has to get through these as well. And if it gets over, you always look to the left. And if it gets over here, because this is almost at 3,000 Satoshis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, not 3,000. Tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000. So 300,000 Satoshis. That's going to be a psychological barrier because it's still within the 100,000 sats. So I'm saying if this breaks out of this area right here, that means this is going to explode. Now, as long as Bitcoin, that's exactly what I said. I said, as long as Bitcoin does not drop, as long as Bitcoin doesn't drop, the USDT price, and if you're doing a leverage trade here, will be going up. Sorry about that. I had a housekeeping for the place that I am in. So with that being said, here, if it did not drop, if the Bitcoin didn't drop, I'm saying that this would either flag around or break out, and there's a potential here, if you look at the daily chart, for it to get to its all-time high if this breaks to the upside. But it's all going to depend on Bitcoin, because guess what? It really just looks like Bitcoin's chart in a way. If you really think about it, it looks just like Bitcoin's chart. You zoom out far enough and you see the similarities here. It's just slight differences, of course, on how some of these things look and where the money is going on a specific day. The Tezos has a lot going behind it. So if Tezos can break out before like some of these other alts can too, and yeah, I had another knock for it. I'm trying to record the video and can't leave right now for you guys. But yeah, so when this goes up, as long as Bitcoin stays sideways and it doesn't dump significantly, this is going to be able to push this to an all-time high in Bitcoin. And potentially, if Bitcoin either pops up or stays sideways right here, which I don't really see it going that way, but this could be a time correction where it just bounces up and down. Oh, wait a minute. This is, that's the wrong one. This could be a time correction where it bounces up and down between about 9,900 or so, 10,000 to about 9,300, where it just bounces here and it lasts about almost 2 weeks or so, and then it pops up, because it has to pop up between yesterday, I was saying, yesterday and about Thursday, because if it gets into the weekend with the low volume, with the high potential that these things just dump like all get out, then I mean, this is not looking good for Bitcoin if it cannot pop up. But yeah, so with that being said, this might actually just be a midday dump in correlation with the London Stock Exchange, because there's a lot of volume and action that happens around 12 noon Eastern in conjunction with the London Stock Exchange close. So that's just some analysis that we have here. I'm not actually trading or scalping in Bitcoin. I'm looking at some of these alts whether it's Ethereum, Ethereum Classic. And obviously with Binance, they do limit the amount of money that you can use on them. So if I want to use anything over a few $100s on these alts like Ethereum Classic or XTZ, I have to not use the max leverage of 75x. I actually have to use 50x or lower, in some cases 20x, and you could still make more money than if you use 75x. And I think it's like 150. Some of them are 175. It really depends on the worth of the alt because they try to limit the risk, quote unquote, on Binance. So right here, we're in a very critical moment, bouncing between about 9,900 to 10,000 and about 9,300, I say. Obviously, it can dip below 9,300, but I think for me, I'm looking at 9,350 for my alert that did go off today. But I was actually looking at this where that happened. And let's zoom into the 1 hour chart and let's take this off. This went and barred it down literally at toward the end of the last 4 hour candle, right into this demand area. So demand would be what you guys also refer to as support. Now, the difference between a support and resistance is there is no such thing as a support and resistance, but we can say that there are demand areas. So if supply outstrips demand, the prices go down. Okay. And if demand outstrips the supply, then prices go up because there's more people trying to buy something. They're demanding this asset, this resource, this person. And there's not enough of this person to go around. There's not enough of you going around. Just imagine you just a person magnet, a people magnet, and everybody's trying to get your time. Now, if you are some kind of celebrity or somebody that has some worth behind them, you are probably charging more money to see many less people, which then takes people out of the buying of you, right? The buying of your time. But because let's say that you are a trying to sell an asset right here like this where you can buy fractions of it, well, then those same people could still be there, but now it's pushing and pushing and pushing the price up and up and up, and those same people can get less and less fractions of it. So that's basically what it is. If you were a celebrity and you said, okay, my price is going up, I can still see everybody, but you get this percentage of my time. Well, that's what happens. But when there's nobody that wants you as much, or you get to a plateau, right? Here's the plateau right here. And let's turn this off because these are distracting. And this is the area right here. This is actually the supply area, this whole thing. But these are mini, like on the 1 hour. On the daily, this is supply area. On the 1 hour, this is a mini demand area where they say previous support becomes resistance and previous resistance becomes support. It's more like, okay, what if you were the person that bought right here, right? Okay, you were demanding it, and then the suppliers just outstripped you and this thing dumped down. And that's what happened. $10,000, right around there, $9,000 to $10,000. People bought a lot. Well, 9,000 to 11,000. People bought a lot, right? And in various degrees of that. So if you're one of the buyers that actually bought this, then what will happen is that by the time it gets up there again, depending on how much they like put you into submission, how many bills you got to pay, and how much you were holding off to do other stuff to make sure that this was lasting months and months under $9,000. So by the time, the longer it stays down, the longer it was in this area, the more solidified this supply zone becomes. So when it comes back up to this area, as we can see, this happened on the daily so many times, bam, shot down, shot down. This was bouncing up and down here for the longest, right in this area, right here. You also see it here, but it was much more volume right in this area. So then it tried to shoot up, got rejected, shoot up, got rejected, shooting up, got rejected 2 times more right here, and we're right here again. So it's in that same area. What happened to all of these people that bought right here? Or maybe even they bought in the 11,000s and they were like, you know what? Close enough because it teased me right here. I thought it was going to go. Bitcoin popped up 35%. I'm thinking those bulls are going to take over. And then what did it happen? And then it was slow grind down. And then it finally came back up and it got rejected. And then it dumped. So these are months and months from September. So you got here from June, but from September all the way now into May, or September into January and February. It's right here. And it looks like it's going to dump. And then let's say that you held through that. What if you got bills now because of the economic situation and you have to take care of those? So when those, you become a supplier now. You're just like Oprah, like everybody, whatever the price is, close enough. I got it at 10,000 even. Okay, it popped over 10,000 the other day. It went to 10.1 something, 10.13 or something like that. Depends on the exchange, because over here it looked like we got to 1067. And you're like, yes, hell yeah. I got a $50 profit off of this. Finally, I can get the hell out. And then it dumps because all these suppliers there, and let's just say you weren't there and you see this dumping quickly. You're like, oh no, I didn't sell. Let me just sell it at 9,800. And then all of these people come and sell. That's what the supply is. Same thing with demand. People are waiting for that price. And so they're like, oh man, this will be a good steal. Bitcoin goes to $5,000, 4,500, because that was another area of supply and demand. So I'm going to buy this up. And then it's like everybody's like, oh, wait a minute. It's like an auction. This person, this person, this person, this person. And that's what drives these prices like that. So with the impending economic situation, with the impending correlation to the stock market, with all of these things here, Bitcoin has a lot to, if it does not in the next few days, it's probably going to dump by the time the weekend rolls around. If it doesn't dump significantly when the weekend comes around, let's say it dumps here, this could form a W, because that's what this would look like, or a flag. That would be the other thing. That's why I would range around here. And I said, obviously this would be in the 8,000, sub 9K, but it could go that way. If this turns into a flag instead, based on this right here, then a flag typically, not all the time, but typically breaks up to the upside. So there's a couple scenarios where we can see this break into the upside, but we also have to be realistic and notice that we are within, and I forgot which one of these charts I actually have that on. Let's see. Yeah, this is the chart that I have it on. And I actually have to adjust this, but I'm going to adjust this where it doesn't necessarily break through this. But we are within either a giant, pretty bullish triangle, or we are within a descending triangle, because if you have this, that's what this line is for. So let's delete this one. And we are within a descending triangle with a falling price, and the base is basically kind of equal. And that's where the subjective part, and that's why I don't like some parts TA with that. And we just try to look at what it is, but on the wider scale, to show us what we're going to do, to show us what type of moves we're going to take advantage of. As somebody that shorted right here and was able to do this on 100x, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do that, because I would say that's pretty hard, and I say it's a little bit of luck there. It's some skill, but I could have easily been liquidated. I had a small enough amount that I said it will have to get into the 11,000s before I would be willing to close it, and potentially I would let myself liquidate, because what I'm going to do is, this is my swing position, and I'm going to scalp every single freaking day so that I could at least break even on that. And it would have taken only a few days to do it, because the position was relatively small enough, and I added to it as it went in my favor. So with that being said, that's just some analysis that we have here. If you guys have any questions, comment below. If you want to join the Discord, now that is $1,800 to join our Discord school. What we do is we talk about investments. We talk, and once again, it's not financial advice, but I'm talking about my perspective of what I would do. And you can see my mindset behind this. You can see more of this and more in depth. You can ask questions in there, because it's a school. All right. And I'm adding videos all the time even though I'm having people attack and try to take these videos down and whatnot. And it really, I mean, I got scam accounts. They're using my pictures. I saw it on Instagram. They're following me on Facebook and on Instagram just so they can mess with me. That is crazy. That's how you know that you're doing something good for some people, because they start to make these fake accounts. Nobody will make a fake account on somebody that's not big enough. I had a bigger YouTube channel. I had a bigger Facebook before I decided to like X that out, but the YouTube just got taken down just because of those scammers and everything, just like complaining and complaining and complaining, and it got taken down. Now, what they're doing is they're making scam accounts of me. I'm not about to. That's crazy. It is so crazy. They got scam accounts of me on Telegram, uh, but I use a completely different name on Telegram now, and you actually don't see my picture there. So, but yeah, with that being said, it's $1,800 for those people that see this video within the next 24 to 48 hours. If you see the video in the next 24 to 48 hours, and we do have a monthly option for you, it's $180. But what we're going to do is you pay a $75 upfront fee, and then it's $10 per month. We're going to hold that. I'm doing that for the next basically 20 people if you see this in the next period of time. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to capture people here and also just rebuild a lot of my groups, because in the past I had a huge amount of people in my Facebook group, and then I decided I wanted to stop doing it. So there is going to be some here. You're going to have some limitations because you're not paying that $1,800 that somebody else will have. There are going to be two channels that you can't see that other people that paid that, and those two channels do mean a lot. So I don't want to be unfair to the people that paid that large amount of money before, and you're paying significantly less. And that's just to be fair. So if you are interested in that, hit the emails below and then message when you're ready. I'll send you over the information, and then I'll send you to the Discord. We do ask that if you want to support the channel, use the affiliate links that's below. Remember that trading, and especially trading on leverage, is very, very, very risky, where you can make mistakes. You can get liquidated just by making those small mistakes, whether you put a digit the wrong way. I've done that sometimes, where I just have to like quickly get out of position. One time it worked in my favor, so I left it open. Okay, most of the time it does not work in my favor, and I quickly just get out. It's also just, you might get very emotional. Some people have killed themselves over this, so this is very serious when it comes to that. As far as, you need to know that this is risky. That means you need to use small amounts. I don't suggest to anybody to use anything over $10 when you're learning. Yeah, you can come in, you can pay off the fee that you did very quickly, maybe first day and whatnot. Cool, that's fine and woohoo. But have you learned the principles of trading in that period of time? Maybe not. Most likely not. You could have beginner's luck. You could have the timing of the market, because these markets change. This market right here is much different than this one right here. Even last week when this dumped right here, did you know that? Here we go. Let's look at this. Actually on the hour, because this was even better. When this dumped, well, maybe it wasn't last week, but when this dumped right here, this started to whip around, and it was just so easy to make money once again. And then it did this. I have not really traded Bitcoin since about the 17th of of um, of May. That's about for the last 3 days. I haven't really traded Bitcoin. I've traded XTZ. I've traded ETC, XLM. I've traded Ethereum. I've done those, but I stayed away from Bitcoin. I really don't want to deal with the hectic mess that Bitcoin is. It's very robotic right now. So, I mean, me personally, I look at this. If you had to hold a gun to my head and say, what do you think this is going to do? I would say, look, until we do this, where is it at? Let's go back to Coinbase. Yep. And I remember so a lot of times I don't delete the drawings that I have here. I really don't look at these things with drawings. This is strictly for almost all the time, other than this huge triangle that's here, for the demonstration for my students. And I remember I made this right in here on the 16th. And it's funny how this thing played out. It's so funny because I made this in the halfway point before this thing even popped up. That's crazy. But anyway, and that's just what happens. Matter of fact, I don't even think I made this at the halfway. Now that I look at it, I made this, and it's so funny how this matches up. I didn't even think. So I drew this kind of, and I'm kind of getting excited with myself now. I drew these distances. When I draw them, I'm not like, oh yeah, it's going to take this many hours or days. I'm actually just doing the general shape of this when I draw that. Like when I was flagging around, if the flag actually follows that, wow, that's a coincidental, that's amazing, whatever. But I'm not doing that for that. And this is so funny how accurate that this turned out, and even to the point of where the price even went. I remember seeing this and I'm like, oh yeah, it could be like a cup handle, whatever. But yeah, until Bitcoin does this, breaks out of this and holds above this, like breaks out, and actually this should be adjusted to include the tips of these instead of going through the candles, because that actually would make more sense. You don't want to break the candles here. Then until this goes here, which means it could definitely have a potential to pump up to 12,000. I say we go to sub 2.5K. That is my mindset. And until the market breaks up, that's my mindset. And now I would have liked the short, but because we're too much in here, I don't want to get blown out of my position. And really, because we are staying stagnant here, I should have taken out a short, but that's hindsight trading. And I don't like hindsight trading. This is in the moment, and you need to be able to perform in the moment. And so being able to perform in the moment means that if I took out a risky trade here, I know that this could blow to the upside, 10-4, 10 higher, and whatnot, and I'll just have a stop loss. And that's all it is. With that being said, like I said, contact below when you are ready to join. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Peace.